Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody? Thai Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Gah. You know, you guys, this is Thai Rivera, your host, and it is the end of the world. It's not that deep, though. You know what I mean? Like Afghanistan, whatever's happening out there. Then there was the stuff in Haiti that happened. In case anybody's wondering, Snoopy Bijou is currently not having a Whimzees Alligator. She's decided she doesn't want Whimzees Alligators lately, and I'm not going to force them on her. And this is Unbothered. That's right. It's Unbothered by Thai Rivera. Going a little out of sequence, but what do I care? It's the end of the world. It really is. The other night I had what I would call a dream, what others would call a hallucination, that it's going to end soon. And so I refuse to be around people that I don't like or that I don't want to be around. And I've lived my life that way for a long time, but now it's even more so that way, and I think everybody's noticed, and it bothers people, but it's not about people. It's about me. You know, I'm really not concerned right now with what anybody else feels about anything, and I don't care what position of power people think they hold. I like who I like, and I don't like who I don't like, and I'll go where I want, and that's just the way it works. And I'm not asking anybody's permission for everything or anything. I don't need anybody's permission for anything. Nobody does. That's the thing. Everybody's made this mistake of thinking that they're, deciding things, and nobody really is, except for me deciding to eat Karla's homemade salsa, which I absolutely love. It's the best salsa in the world, Karla's homemade salsa. I love it. I eat it daily on my huevos. But, yeah, I will, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of letting people know where I'm at with things, because I think right now that's probably more important than ever, just in general, because I have so many people right now that are very supportive of me and very much love me and love what it is I'm doing and love what it is I'm talking about. And that's who I really will concentrate on. And I'll talk about things that bother me because that is the theme of Unbothered. But I think sometimes people get a little too emotional about the things I say and they're a little too invested in them. But I also don't have a right to tell anybody how to feel about anything that I say. So I respect that as well. And I'm not gonna tell anybody, well, you shouldn't feel this way, or you feel however you want to feel, and you express that however you want to express it. I mean, I'm, a little annoyed with some people, but not really, because nobody matters. It's like I keep telling you guys, nobody matters. And that's what's really bothering people about me right now, is people have decided that they hold these positions, these stations within the comedy community here in Las Vegas. And I've said, no, you don't. And I stand by that, because at the end of the day, the talent is what matters the most. And yeah, the business part is very important too. I'm not going to pretend that it's not important, but the talent is what really drives everything. So when you're talking to somebody like me, that when it comes to the talent side is at the top of the food chain, when it comes to just straight up talent, you can say other things about credits or whatever you want to say, but straight up talent, gets on stage, delivers every time. That would be me. There's a couple others. I'm not going to undercut them. They're my friends. I do love them. But that's how you know who's talented and who's not. Because those of us that are talented know that there's nothing for us to be fighting about. We're in the same fight. We're on the same side. Me and every actually talented person are on the same side. Now, some people would say, like a person like Trix would fit into that because he is talented. Trix is a talented performer. He's not necessarily a talented writer, or he wouldn't be stealing people's material. And it's not like it's just happened to me, and it's not like I'm holding hard feelings about it. But when I talk about these things, I know that there's times where people would say, well, what about this person? And I would say that person doesn't really matter, because they've chosen to take shortcuts rather than do what you're actually supposed to do. And I like, like, I don't think people understand that I can say that on a technical level and not hold hard feelings about it. And I think that's because most people are a lot more emotionally driven than I am. Like, people would assume that I have a lot of emotion about things because I'll just say things. But for me, that's not about emotion. Maybe that could be chalked up to a lack of diplomacy, but at a certain point you get tired of being diplomatic. At a certain point in your life, you do get like, okay, let me just say this, and however it comes out, and whoever feels whatever they feel is what they feel. Like, I feel like a lot more people would be a lot happier if they would come at things from this perspective, because I don't walk around angry. I don't care about a lot of things, and I don't fully think that anybody's going to be able to get that until they themselves reach that same state, and then they'll be like, oh, now I see what you were talking about. And I really think it's something that everybody should strive for. Like, I also have friends that are a lot like me, like my actual friends that I've known for years and years, and we have such a fun time with the fact that we can bust each other's balls, and we can be silly with each other, and even borderline rude with each other. And I say borderline because it doesn't cross the line. It's just fun. Like, here's an example. Last week, I went to see my friend Eric Griffin. Now, I'm going to weave in and out of this story just because there's a way that things go, and there's a way that people think that I show up to bother people, but I'll show you how things work out for me. So last week, on Monday, because I did my taping last week, the two tapings that we were doing. One was for me doing a 30-minute, and then the other one was me doing like a 10-minute. And so the way that it worked out was on Monday, I get hit up by my friend Eric Griffin. If you're not familiar with Eric Griffin, he's been on not The Office. What's it called? The one with Adam Devine. I can't remember the name of it. It was on, what's it called? It was on Comedy Central. Anyway, that show. I can't remember the name of the show. See, I don't pay attention to anything. I can't remember the name of the show. But he was on that show. He played a character called Montez. A lot of people know him. I've known him since I first started doing comedy, before any of that stuff happened for him. We've stayed friends throughout. Like when I was much younger, we had a little run-in one time. But even that was like, he's always been bitchy, and so have I. And that's what it is. And Eric is just a really good friend. But we've grown to a point in our friendship that it's just what it is. We're just friends. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like changing it. There's not going to be any big drama between us. There's no reason for us to have drama. We're actual friends, and we don't need to cross paths in a negative way or cross each other. We're just friends. So on Monday, he hit me up and he was like, I'm in town. And I was like, where are you? And then I was like, where are you performing? And then he was like, Brad Garrett's. And I was like, cool. Then we'll have to hang out after Thursday, or let's hang out after Thursday. And I just left it at that, and he didn't respond either after that. And that's what it was. So Wednesday hits. I do my tapings. They were super fun. They were super great. There were people there that I didn't really care for, which I addressed on my Facebook Live, but not in any way other than it was just reminding people that you can be a professional. You don't have to turn everything into like an emotional argument or whatever. There were people there that I don't necessarily get along with. It was fun. They did their thing. I did mine. We both occupied the same green room at the same time. There were no problems, no drama, no incidents, no dirty looks, nothing. We didn't have to interact, but we were in the same green room. So that's something that people need to remember, that it is possible to work around. You do it every day. Everybody's done it all the time, except for once people get into comedy, suddenly they start thinking they're divas and they're like, I can't be around this person. It's like, shut up. You can be around anybody. Don't act like you're really something. But anyway, so what happened was I do my tapings. They're great. The following day is Thursday. And I was like, okay, if I don't go today, I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to hang out with Eric. So I send Eric a text message and ask him if, he can get me in, because I don't hang out at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. I know Cindy, who's the booker. I don't hang out at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, though, so I'm not just going to waltz in assuming that they're just cool with me going there. So I tell Eric, ask Eric if he can go ahead and put me on the list. Yes, bitch, I believe was his exact answer that he sent me back via text. And so I get there, before the show. The show starts at 8 o'clock. And outside of the showroom, it has a billboard that shows Eric and then who's featuring and who's hosting. Well, Craig Conant is hosting or featuring, which I love him. I know him from LA time too. He's a lot newer, but he's had some stuff go viral, and he's somebody to be on the lookout for. Super cool guy. Like I said, I've known him since LA, so like we've been friends for quite a while now, and we've always like chatted when we were outside of the Comedy Store or things like that. So I see Craig, on the billboard, and then Gooch is on the billboard as well. Gooch is hosting the show. So I walk up to the door to go in, and then Cindy asked me to wait for a second because she said that Eric hadn't told her I was going to come, and which is cool. Like sometimes you forget to, I've forgotten to tell people to put my friends on the guest list or whatever. So I wasn't sweating that, and then I figured like with the Gooch situation, she probably was going to go check and make sure that was okay too. And so she comes back and she, and it takes quite a while, but at that point, it's my job to be patient because she's got a job to do as far as she's running a club, and it's Brad Garrett's Comedy Club in the MGM Grand. They're very professional. They get A-list comedians, it's a great club. And so, very professional. And so I'm not sweating any of this, I'm just standing at the door waiting, and it does take a while or whatever. So Cindy comes and grabs me and she tells me where to sit. And then she just says I don't care about any of the gossip, any of the drama. I was just making sure that there were no legal reasons that you and Gooch can't be in the same space. So cool, whatever. So, I mention that because I know that the way that the, Las Vegas comedy scene rumor mill will work is people will make it seem like I went to go terrorize Gooch or in some way to go harass Gooch. When I tell you I didn't know Gooch was going to be there, I didn't know Gooch was going to be there. When I checked the website to see what times the show times are, it doesn't show who's featuring and who's opening. I didn't even know Craig was going to be there. And so I hadn't realized that had happened. And then, afterwards I mentioned it to Eric, and then he mentioned something about Gooch mentioning it or whatever. And he said that, if it makes me feel any better than that Gooch appears to feel bad about it or something to that effect. I don't remember what it was, but it was very just kind of it appears that he's not exactly proud of that behavior. And I just let Eric know, I was like, you can let Gooch know if he ever wants to apologize. My number hasn't changed. So that's what it is. And so then afterwards, me and Eric went out to dinner. Me, Eric, and Craig all went out to dinner. We went to Wolfgang Puck's. We had steak. Eric ended up picking up the tab, which was great. Thank you, Eric. And that's what my night was. So then, the week before, I had been talking to Stephen Briggs through text when I was on my way to Phoenix, and he had told me he was going to be in town, because I'd seen he was going to be in town, and then I was like, what days are you here? And then he told me, and I knew he was going to be performing at Artifice on Tuesday, and I thought I was going to be able to make it out to Artifice on Tuesday, but it turned out that the smarter thing for me to do was to work on my set and other stuff that I had to work on since my tapings were the next day. And so I didn't get to make it out to Artifice. Well, I still wanted to see Steven, and I knew that he was going to be recording Laughs After Dark, I think is what it's called, at Notoriety, which is a place I perform regularly. Then I also knew that Nick Guerra was in town, and last time Nick Guerra was in town, I never made it out to the Comedy Cellar to see him actually do a set. So I went to LA Comedy Club. I let them know, that I was going to be coming through and make sure that that was all approved and there were no problems there. It wasn't going to be a situation where somebody was uncomfortable with me being there or whatever. Because I'm trying to be I'm going to roam as freely as I want to, but at the same time, I am trying to respect the different clubs' boundaries or whatever they're trying to do, even though I don't see a point for it, but I'll still respect it, at least to as much as I feel like it deserves to be respected, because that's really where I'm at in my life with everything, it's all at my discretion. I don't know where people started to buy into these ideas that other people control their movement, but I'm not one of those people. But I'll respect as much as I can. So I sent them a message. They were like, everything's great, everything's cool. Go ahead and come down. And so I went to see Nick on Friday. That was super great. And then I went to Dirty at 12:30 afterwards because DJ Cooch was on the show, which DJ Cooch I've been friends with for 17 years. I know I've talked about him on the podcast at different points because I've just known him for so long, but I've known him for 17 years. So when Nick Guerra told me that he was going to go watch DJ Cooch, I was like, where's DJ Cooch? And he was like, he's going to be at Dirty at 12:30, and I was like, oh, okay, well then I'll go with you, or I'll ride separately so you don't end up stuck with me if anything dramatic happens on their end. And so I go to hang out with Cooch and, watch Cooch perform and just hang out at Dirty at 12:30. And I don't know if anybody's going to feel terrorized about that or say that I was trying to terrorize them. But again, I don't care because I've known Cooch for 17 years and I'm not thinking about who's going to be where. Like, I'm a comic. I hang out in comedy situations, comedy rooms, comedy clubs, like whatever it is to do with comedy, there's a chance that at some point I'm going to show up. Will I show up every week? Not likely unless I'm being paid. But will I show up randomly because friends are performing or friends are hanging out? Yes, of course I will. So I went to Dirty at 12:30. That was cool. No problem. Actually, there were a lot of people hanging out with me that night just because, and it was all comics that were just happened to be there, but just, we're all cool because even though the rumors are that nobody likes me, the truth is it's a very, very small group of Las Vegas comedians that don't like me, and then maybe a couple open micers that don't like me. But as far as actual comedians, first off, there aren't that many actual comedians on the comedy scene in Las Vegas. And I hate to break that to everybody, but that's just the truth of the matter. There's people that think they're comedians, that it's like you're an open micer. You just happen to get booked on shows because there's not a very big pool of comedians here in Las Vegas, even though the city is built on entertainment. So sometimes open micers will end up getting a lot of spots, and then they think, I'm a comedian. And it's like, not so fast, Mary. Not so fast. In any other city, you'd still just be an open micer. It's just here, we have a limited pool. So you got promoted, I guess. Anyway, so there were a lot of people hanging out with me. We're having a great time. The vibe is great, and I come home and I post about that being a wonderful night or whatever. That was Friday. I stayed out till maybe 3 a.m. or, yeah, I think it was like 3 a.m., maybe 2 a.m., something like that, somewhere between 2 and 3. And I had been hanging out with Claire as well, and, just a lot of people that I was hanging out with that night. But Claire had gone with me because we had been hanging out at LA Comedy Club to watch Nick Guerra. Nick Guerra absolutely destroyed it, which Nick Guerra is another one that I've told people before. It's like, I've known him for over 10 years. You think I'm not going to show up to say hi? Like, we're actual friends. So I guess I just say this because I had an awkward situation happen on Saturday and I want to talk about it. And I know some people are going to think I'm causing drama, but it's what it is. I'm not causing drama because I'm not mad about any of it, but I am going to talk about it because it did get on my nerves. Here's what happened. Like I said, over a week and a half ago, I was texting with Stephen Briggs because Stephen Briggs is another person that I've known forever. I've known Stephen Briggs since he first came from San Diego to LA, and we used to perform at this place called the Bliss Cafe that I've referenced before, which is right in Hollywood. And we are friends. We're actual friends. And so he's been over to my house. Him and Nick Guerra were at my, I've talked about him several times here on the podcast before. And so, the thing is, I had wanted to see Stephen Briggs. So the plan was to see him on Tuesday, like I said, but the better idea was to postpone it until Saturday. So I knew he was going to be recording Laugh After Dark. I know I have a relationship with Notoriety. That's where we did my tapings, was on Notoriety. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure that I can just get in with no problems there, even if there's tickets or whatever, they'll just let me in. Like, that's the way I felt about it. So that's what I made the plan for. And Stephen had come over, I think it was Thursday night that Stephen came over. Yeah, or maybe it was Friday night. either Thursday or Friday night. I can't remember. He came over to my place and no, it was Wednesday night because it was after the taping. We went to McDonald's and then we came back here and ate for a little while and then, he took off. But we were hanging out, having fun, being silly, gossiping a little bit. I was telling him my dirt, catching him up because he doesn't watch Unbothered. He's not a botherina. Slightly offensive, but I'll get past it. So anyway, so my plan was to see him on Saturday. And so I get there on Saturday and what's it called? I asked Claire if she wanted to go with me. So Claire ended up meeting me here at my place and then we rode over to Notoriety together. Notoriety is over in Fremont Experience in the, what do they call that? Neonopolis is what it's called. That's that area right before you get into, what's it called? The Fremont Experience. And so me and Claire went together and we get there. They went ahead and let us in. At first we were told that we might end up having to pay $10 each, but then that was beforehand. And then once we got there, the guy knew me at the door and he was like, just you guys go ahead. And so we went in and they tried to seat us with the regular audience, but we're comics and we're not going to have the same reactions as the regular people. So I felt like a better decision would be for us to sit at the bar. Claire was on board with that thinking. So me and Claire were going to sit at the bar. So we're sitting at the bar. And then the guy that's like basically the stage manager, I think he's Chris. His name is Chris. And he's always been super nice to me, but I'm terrible with names. And, I haven't worked with him in a while because it's been that little bit of hair that's bothering me. Jesus Christ. So I haven't worked for him for a while, so I can't remember exactly what his name is, but I think it's Chris. So anyway, he's kind of like the stage manager. So what happened was, Laughs After Dark, which is going to be on Amazon, actually looks really good and the whole setup is very professional. And shout out to Charlie Wilson and the crew that's putting that on because they are doing a really professional job and everything looks really good. It's, I was really impressed with that. Not that I'm anybody, but I kind of am. And so I was really impressed with it and I thought it looked great. And so what happened was right before the show starts, Chris walks up to me and Claire, and also we're sitting with a Miracle, Amir Khalil, but he performs under a Miracle. And then this one girl that's a regular audience member that I can't remember her name. And if you're watching, I'm sorry. It's no shade. I just am terrible with names. And then also with the owner of Notoriety. So we're sitting with them. Chris comes over to us, and then he was like, is there any way I could get you guys to take the 2 seats in the front? There's 2 seats that are right in front of the stage that we don't want to have open while we're doing a taping. It just looks bad. And, it was sold out the week before, and it was a great audience on this particular night that we were there, but just it wasn't completely sold out. And so nobody at comedy shows likes to sit up front because a lot of times they're worried that people are going to make fun of them. And so it is a tough sell to get people. So long story short, I would look at Claire and I'm like, are you all right with sitting up front? And she was like, yeah, I'm all right with sitting up front. So we go sit up front to be team players, that's why we sat up front. It was not either of our idea. Like I said, we wanted to sit at the bar, so we're away from everything. And so keep in mind, I also don't have any idea who's on the show. I just know that Steven's on the show, and that's who I'm there to see. And I had asked a couple of people who else was on the show just because I was curious to know who the comics were and see if I knew anybody. But, the people that I had asked didn't know either. And Steven didn't even know. I asked Steven, and he didn't know either. He was like, yeah, I don't really know who's on the show. I just know I'm on the second half because it's shot into 30-minute segments, I think it is, or this one was like a 30-minute and 20-minute or something like that. And so, that's the way it's shot. And so I didn't know who was going to be on the show. So, Charlie gets on stage, like I said, it's a very professional production and really cool being there. And Charlie gets on stage. He does his hosting thing. I had met Charlie that night for the first time, and he seemed really cool, one-on-one when I had met him. And so we're sitting there, and they roll the tape, and it's a bunch of comics that I don't, that I've gotten into it with over the last couple of months. But I have more of a sense of humor about that stuff than most people would get. Like, me and Claire are sitting there, and Claire is like antagonistic in a fun way, like ribbing me because, obviously the screen is rolling with comics that I've gotten into it with over the last couple of months. And so, or 4 months ago, really, is when I got into it with everybody or those people. And so, I'm just looking at Claire like being silly, like the fart smelling face, or like, and you're like, I like silly, it's silly like that. But I don't care. It's like we're having fun, or I'm having fun with it. And Claire's laughing because she knows that, I don't hold that stuff heavy. I just don't. And so, then Charlie does his full thing, his intro, and then he introduces Liz Stone, which Liz Stone is a comedian that I know, and she moved here from the Bay Area. I had met her originally when we were performing at the Laugh Factory together, which was the January before the shutdown, I think. So January 2020, I think, was when we met, or maybe it was before that. But anyway, whenever it was, I met her, so I met her, and I guess I'm indifferent to her, because like we've chatted over instant messenger before because she was trying to raise money for Ron Vai's birthday or something like that, or maybe because his dad died and she was going to buy him a gift. I think it was his birthday. And so we chatted about that. Then we chatted another point when she was taking care of Irish Jay's dog, because I was trying to like give her some tips or make sure she was all right or whatever. But long story short, I don't have any feelings about her either way. I mean, like, she's there. And so she does her set and it went well. And so, I'm not thinking anything about that, just she did a set. And so then a couple other comics come up. I think it was 2 other comedians. I think. I don't remember. Anyway, whatever happened. Then there's a break. And then, Steven goes up second in the second group is the way it worked, I believe. And so, like, I'm not thinking anything about anything. I'm just there to watch Steven. Steven did really well. There was another guy, a big Hispanic guy that was super funny. Then there was this one white lady. Then she does a joke about being a white lady, like she's transitioning from white chick to white lady. And so that's, I guess, why I called her a white lady like that. But she's a white lady, and she was super funny, super fun. And so all around, for me, it was a good night, just as far as enjoying the show and getting to be part of the taping. And that way, like, watch the taping, even though I wanted to sit in a different spot. And so, and Claire's good company, and everything's great, And so then when the show is over, when everything's over for the show, I'm sitting with Steven. At some point, I ask him, if we can get a picture, like me, him, and Claire, because I wanted to get a picture, and they had really good lighting there and a really good backdrop. And so, I asked him if we could get a picture, and of course, with us being friends, he was like, yeah, of course we can get a picture. And I asked him to stand in the middle because it's his night, it was his taping. And so, I'm having a good night. So then I go to sit down, and then Liz Stone comes over to me, and she's like, oh my God, drunk and sloppy, which I hate when people come up to me drunk and sloppy. But she's like, oh my God, I'm so impressed that you showed up here. It's so nice of you that you showed up for me. And in my head, I'm like, does she really think I showed up for her? Like, why would I show up for her? I don't even like her comedy. I mean, like, the audience did that night, but I don't like her. I've seen her bomb too many times for me to say that I like her comedy. There's me being cool with people, and in some cases just being indifferent to them, or just being like they're there. But then there's me liking people's comedy, and sometimes those things don't go together. I cannot like somebody and really like their comedy. But with Liz, she's just there. So there's that. She's like tofu. And then there's that I don't like her comedy. So it's like, why would I show up for her? You know, why would she think I'm here for her? Like, we don't even have that kind of relationship. But here she is making it seem like, or telling me. But again, she just got through taping, and it's her night too, even though as far as I go, it's Steven's night because that's who I'm there for. And I didn't know she was going to be there, but like, you know, it's her night too. So I'm letting her have her night. So I'm being cool about it. And then she's like, let's take a picture together. Oh my God, I want to take a picture with you. Let's take a picture. And she starts grabbing my arm and pulling me to go take a picture with her. And so I'm being cool, and I'm not trying to shit on her night. And so I didn't tell her that I wasn't there for her, and I didn't know she was going to be on. And I went ahead and take a picture with her, and I'm being cool. And I wouldn't have even talked about this story if it hadn't turned into a thing afterwards, you know, which I didn't even realize was a thing to begin with. So then everything's good. Everything's cool. There was one person that I refused to take a picture with. You know what I mean? I refused to be in the same shot with that person. And I could name a name, but I'm not going to because I don't care. I say that I don't want to take a picture with someone, and that should be good enough for everybody. I have agency over my own, like, where my image goes and who I want to be seen with and who I don't want to be seen with. So people can have their feelings about that, but I don't care on that either. You're not talking me into doing anything that I don't want to do. So there was one particular person that, like I said, I didn't want to take a picture with. And if I felt that way about Liz or anybody else, I would have been just as clear about that and just been like, no, I won't take a picture with you. But I was being cool, you know, because like I said, I don't think anything good or bad of her. She's just there regularly. So that happens, and then I end up going home. I say my good nights to everybody so that they can all enjoy their time together. Nick Guerra showed up at a point. We all took a picture together with Nick, and so, like, you know, it's a good situation. So I get home, I do my thing. I end up waking up around 4 a.m. Yeah, I end up waking up around 4 a.m. because I took a nap, let's say. And so by the time I wake up, Amir has hit me up, and he was like, I got into it with Liz Stone. And so I'm like, he was like, call me if you have a chance. And it turned out that he just wanted to vent. And I did call him, and we talked for a little while. Turns out that Liz Stone had punched him in the nose at a point, which I'm so not having it with these comics and putting their hands on people. And especially when it's a white woman and a man of color, because as a white woman, you know that there is nothing that a man of color can do back to that. He just has to let you hit him. If he calls the police on you, he's considered a bitch. If he hits you back, he's the worst person in the world, and he's going to jail. And I'm going to be honest. I don't care if you're a white woman or not. I don't care who you are. You put your hands on me, I'm calling the police immediately. I'm not having any of this put your hands on people type of stuff. You don't put your hands on me, I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what's happening in your head. I don't care what's happening in your life. I accidentally said wife. I don't care what's happening in your relationship. I don't care about anything to do with anything. You keep your hands to yourself around me. That's all I'm saying. I don't care who you are. And I think everybody needs to adopt this policy, because I think that a miracle, should have went ahead and just called the police when she hit him. Because I don't care what led up to it, even though, like, I've been told by more than one source now that she had overreacted in hitting him and there was no reason for her to hit him. That's what I've been told by a couple of people that I actually do trust. So when that's the story that I'm hearing, but again, neither here nor there, not my business. What got on my nerves, though, was that at a point, I was told by more than one person that Liz had been saying before she took the picture with me backstage, she was saying that I had been scowling at her during her set and that she was going to have me take a picture with her to, I don't know, prove what point. And I don't understand why somebody would say that I was scowling at them when I was just watching your set like a regular person. And like I said, I didn't have any feelings either way about you being there. So I don't know what's happening in her white lady mind that she thinks that, I mean, like, I know what's happening in her mind. She wanted to have some sort of incident with me, and since I didn't give her one, she decided she was going to make one up. So that's what she did, and then she was going to take a picture with me to prove I don't know what point, because I don't know what grade this washed up party girl is in. I don't know what in her head she thinks is going on. And that is the way I think about her. I don't think of her as a comic, and I never have. Like I said, when I said comic, that's why I said comic, because I don't think of her as a comic. I think of her as a washed up party girl that gives tricks, rides places to hopefully get booked on things. And that's the way I think of Liz Stone. And I know she does some other stuff, but really she's not much of a comic in my opinion at all. So I don't even consider her a comic. I would have more respect for her if she were an open micer. And this is just me being honest when I'm not being indifferent. Once you pull me out of indifference and you force me to have an opinion, this is the way I feel about you. Don't ask me to take a picture with you if you don't like me, if you don't actually want to take a picture with me, because I was actually being nice to you, even by letting you think in your head that I was there to see you, which, like I said, I didn't even know you're going to be there. I would never change my night's plans to go watch Liz Stone. I don't dislike Liz Stone. Even now, I don't dislike her. I just think that these people have these mental imbalances that make them want to pretend that they have a relationship with me that we don't have. I don't think of you either way. And then you're telling people that I was scowling at you. So what? Now, if I show up somewhere and I don't do anything, because I've already proven that I'm a professional and I'm not doing anything to anybody. So now that it's been established that that's the way I'm going to roll, is just by coming in and doing nothing to bother anybody, now people are going to start accusing me of looking at them a particular way or not having the right expression on my face. Like, is there an expression on my face that I'm supposed to have when I see Liz Stone or anybody else for that matter? Because I didn't know that was part of the agreement. I didn't know that I had to have a smile pasted onto my face the entire time I was watching this so-so set that the audience did like. The audience liked it, but it's a so-so set. All of her stuff is so-so. She doesn't work hard. I mean, like, she doesn't. It's just what it is. And so for me, it's like, why is this person that's a comedic non-issue have some reason that she wants to pretend that we have some situation going on that we don't have going on? Like, get over it, people. Most of you, I don't think about at all. And I don't know why the entire Vegas comedy scene, or that part of the comedy scene, I should say, because like I said, it is mostly people that like me on the Vegas comedy scene, but there's a particular like faction that tricks his friends. I don't know, maybe he talked to them and has a deal with them. They've got to make it seem like something has happened between us every time I show up somewhere, because I don't know where these people get this idea that I just want to show up to bother them. And if I do show up, that's somehow an act of aggression. Like me showing up to a taping that my friend is taping on, my longtime friend is taping on, like that's somehow an act of aggression to you, or I somehow am supposed to show up and be super surprised. Yay! Liz Stone is going to do those jokes about her husband again. Thank God. Ex-husband even. And that's the other thing that got me. It did strike me, and I didn't think anything, well, not I didn't think anything about it at the time. I thought something about it at the time, but I never would have referenced it or never would have brought it up. So a lot of her set has to do with her ex-husband, and, you know, he was terrible to her in the end or whatever. But, like, knowing even the little bit that I know about her, they were probably both terrible to each other. Like, she seems like a horrible person in a lot of ways. And I say this because, you know, she's just, like, I know I got kind of amped up right there when I was talking about her, and it's because I've always been very forgiving of the fact that she's super annoying and she has no idea that a lot of people don't like her. And it's always weird to me when people are that oblivious and it's like, are you autistic? Like, you can't tell that people really don't like you. Even people that are supposed to be your friends don't really like you. And so why are you trying to start problems with me or make it seem like I'm being a particular way when you don't even realize that most people really don't like you? And that's really what it is. Like, that's where I'm very fortunate, in that people that don't like me are very open about the fact that they don't like me now. So I know where I stand with people. So I don't have delusions that all these people like me, and then, and then here it turns out that they don't. You know what I mean? It's like, I know who likes me and I know who doesn't. And I'm going to tell you, real motherfuckers are who likes me. And that's all I need. So when you saw me at Dirty 1230 and you saw the people around me, you saw the people around me and you saw the quality of people that I fuck with. So I don't care what anybody says about anything. You have those fake motherfuckers. I don't need them. But like when it comes to her, it's like she's an annoyance in every green room that she's in. She's a lot of times in the green room when she's not on the show, which is a faux pas if you guys don't know. If the headliner didn't personally invite you, then you have no business in the green room. And that's something that I don't know how she doesn't have a grasp of. Like if you go to the Ice House in Pasadena, there's literally a sign on the door that says, if you're not on the show, don't be in the green room. That's just an old school rule, but for some reason, I go to LA Comedy Club, she's in the green room. I mean, like, always in the green room. And she doesn't realize that people have had these conversations, but multiple people have been like, who is she? And why is she always sitting in the wrong spots? Or why is she taking up space when nobody back here invited her? And I know that sometimes it's because she's hanging out with Trix and she thinks that that's a reason, but really a lot of times Trix doesn't have any business back there. People are just cool because he performs there all the time, but in a lot of cases they don't want her or Trix in the green room, but everybody's too nice to say that. And that's why I like being the scarecrow that I am, because when I'm in a green room, a lot of times those people will just leave because they don't want to be in my presence, which I don't blame them. But I don't care either way. And I think that that's what bothered them at one particular instance where they were in the green room with me, but I was there because I was asked to be there. And so I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. And they were trying to make me feel uncomfortable, but I was just like, this isn't your green room right now, boo-boo. This is Butch Bradley's green room. So I was invited back here by Butch, and technically that's the reason I'm at the club. So if you want to give your dirty looks, you can do that, but it's not going to make me feel any particular way other than, ew, why are you trying to make the headliner's guest uncomfortable right now when you have no business in the green room? But anyway, back to Liz Stone. So I just hate when people try to make situations things that there aren't. And when it came to after her set, because she had talked about her husband, which she's been doing for as long as I've known her, and so she was talking about her set, and or I mentioned, I was like, the audience really seemed to enjoy your set. I was like, good job tonight. And I did say that, at the time, and I meant it. The audience did enjoy her set, and it was a good job. They liked it. And I've seen her bomb a lot, and that's not me being mean. When it comes to comedy, I don't lie. It's what it is. And so I had complimented her, and then she was like, well, it's all about getting back at the ex-husband now. And in my head, I'm just like, what a terrible way to live. Like, why would you want to dedicate your life to getting back at your ex-husband, who's probably thinking about you just as little as I am, if not less? But I guess if that's what your idea is, then live your life doing that. But it speaks to your character and what kind of person you are that you're still caught up on that, in my opinion. And again, I'm not telling anybody what timeline to heal on, but I am not running around trying to make any of my exes feel any particular way. And yeah, you may have been married, but that still doesn't mean that's a healthy way for you to handle the end of your marriage. But whatever, or the fact that your marriage has been over, because I think the divorce has been done for a while now, so I don't understand. But I just feel like people like that are more hobbyists, because she does have another career. She, I believe, went to law school, and she's got her own business, so it's not like I feel like she's not accomplished in any way. It's just when it comes to stand-up, which is the only thing that's important to me, because I'm in the world of stand-up. So I don't care what else you have going in your life. Yeah, I can respect that, you're a successful businesswoman in a different field. But as far as comedy goes, you're a hobbyist, so stay out of my way. Don't make up stories about us having some sort of friction that we don't have, or that I wasn't aware we had. And if you really felt that, instead of asking me to take a picture, then either stay away from me or come over to me and be like, hey, is there something going on between us? And I would have quickly put that to rest for you, and it would have stayed between me and you, just like, no, there's no problem between us. Why would there be a problem between us? But the fact that you went to other people and were saying that I was doing things to you that I wasn't doing, that I was scowling at you during your set, when that's not at all what was happening, like, I was paying attention during your set, but I've heard the jokes before. So like I would laugh sometimes, but it's not going to be the same laughs. And I don't expect that from other comics when they've seen material that I've done before. If they were sitting up front, like, yeah, you try your best to participate, but I'm not a good actor. And I've always been honest about that. Like, I'm not good at pretending like I haven't heard something before. If it's gossip, I can a million times be like, what? He said what? But that's gossip. But when it comes to jokes and stuff like that, I really don't know how to act like I haven't heard these jokes before. So yeah, I was smiling and I was, chuckling at points, but I was trying to play along, but maybe I wasn't doing the best job of acting, but I definitely wasn't scowling at you. I haven't even got full control of my fucking forehead to be scowling at people. I mean, like, my Botox hasn't fully worn off. So I don't know what you think a scowl is. I don't get it, but whatever. Don't get me involved, and I know that there are different substances going on in the Las Vegas comedy community, and I know that Liz does some of those substances, because one time she had a conversation with me about how she had done like Molly the night before, and then she hadn't been able to sleep or hadn't slept that well, so she was taking Adderall to stay awake at that point. And if you do too much of that shit, if you do too much Adderall, that's just prescription speed, and you're going to start acting like a tweaker. And what do tweakers do? They get paranoid. So you're trying to blame your hysterics, and it might not even be attributable to drugs. You might just be trying to get a brown person in trouble, because the history is people believe white women when they say that brown men are being threatening with them. And so your thing is you are going to get me in some sort of trouble or make it seem like I'm doing something that I'm not doing. And when that didn't work out, maybe that's why you got mad at Amir later on in the night, a miracle, and you decided to punch him in the nose, because your plan with me obviously hadn't worked out. So now a miracle was your chance to frame a brown man in some way, because I feel like there is something evil going on when you're making up stories that didn't happen. And so, yeah, I really am just making it clear. Like, I don't, for anybody listening to this, and I'll make sure that Liz gets tipped off to this too. For anybody that's watching this, I'm making this very clear. I don't want anything at all to do with Liz Stone. I don't want to be close to Liz Stone. There's nothing for us to work on. There's nothing for us to talk about. I wasn't scowling at her. If I happen to end up anywhere that she is, I will get up and walk out so she doesn't have to see me scowl at her. I'm not going to leave the premises, but I will, if she's performing, move away from where she's at. I will not be photographed with Liz Stone. I want nothing to do with people, and this is male, female, black, white, Asian, Native American, Latino, Eastern Bloc European, British, Irish, any nationality, ethnicity, culture, subculture. I want nothing to do with anybody that has any kind of relationship in their head with me that I'm not a part of. And I think that that's a fair request. And I think that it's not unfair to say that you don't trust somebody that had an argument with you that you weren't aware of in their head in one night, and then physically assaulted another person in that same night. Now, to me, this is where DJ Sandu should come in with one of his famous evaluations and hit Liz up and find out if she's maybe going through a manic episode or whatever it was he accused me of, because all I did was call somebody out for taking a joke and yell at somebody for getting on my nerves. So I feel like if I need an evaluation, Liz really needs an evaluation. So this might be a good time for somebody to get Dr. Sandu on the phone and see if he can maybe help Liz out with that problem. Because I'm going to tell you guys about me and why I feel the way I am, or the way I feel in general with things right now. You know, like what I said is because I'm constantly trying to be a better person than I've been. Like, and people can say different things about me, but not really a lot, because it's not like I've done a lot wrong, especially in the comedy community. There's certain people that I haven't gotten along with. There's certain people that I feel were unprofessional at different points. But I'm always looking at those situations, and as I get further away from them, I have less emotion towards them because, you know, at this point, a lot of it I have very little emotion towards. But when you have so little emotion towards it, you can really be more and more analytical about it. And you can take yourself out of it in a way and be like, okay, well, how can I deal with that better in the future? And the more that I think about it, because I don't think about it in an obsessive way, but just every once in a while it pops in my head. And it's like, that did go really wrong. You know, that particular situation did go really wrong. So how would I be able to handle that in the future? And so that's how I decide how I would handle things in the future. Like when it comes to the Liz Stone situation, you know, there was a part of me that felt like sending her a text message and just being like, stay away from me, or, you know, something like that. But I know how people are with text messages, and then they're fucking post your shit and act like you're attacking them. And so this way, I just put it out there once and for all. And I don't mind that I didn't approach her first or hit her up first, because it's not on me to hit you up first. When you think that something is going on between us, and instead of just coming to me, you go to other people and start making it sound like I'm doing something that isn't getting done, then I don't know why you would think I owe you that, but I don't. I don't owe you to go to you at that point. For me, I come to Unbothered, and I just make it very clear to the entire comedy world, or the Las Vegas comedy scene, because a lot of you do watch this podcast, that I want Liz Stone nowhere near me at any point. And if that ever means, you know, like, say you're having a house party and you're like, I want to invite Ty, but I also want to invite Liz. I can be there, but I don't want to talk to anybody, talk to her, you know. And if that's uncomfortable for you, then don't invite me to your party, because I'm fine either way. I think she probably needs the company, even though everybody likes me better. Which is rude. I know it's rude that I said that, but everything I said is 100% true. Like, she doesn't realize that people don't like her. Like, you know, she thinks everybody likes her, but that's because of the, you know, like in a lot of cases, people don't want to hurt women's feelings. And especially white women, people are raised to believe that, you know, white women are something special and you're not supposed to hurt their feelings, and you're always supposed to treat them like ladies and whatever. And yeah, that is true to a certain degree, I guess. But I mean, that's kind of for all women, you know, you should treat them with some sort of respect until they give you a reason not to. But it's not particularly disrespectful just to let somebody know, like, people don't like you as much as you think they do. So maybe start acting more like an adult, because everything you're doing is acting like a child, you know, like even the like, oh, Thai Rivera's talking about me, so I'm going to go take a picture with him. Yeah, good. You way to get me back. Now you have a picture with me. Wow. You really let me have it there. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I won't post this one. Maybe I'll just let this one live in the lost episodes. Or maybe I will post it. I don't know. I'll watch it on review and I'll see where it is I'm at with it. But if it does get out, if I do put it out, I should say, there's no way it would get out without me putting it out. But if I do put it out, just understand that I'm not mad. I just don't like people. I don't want to allow people near me that might possibly have a relationship with me that I'm not aware of. Anyway, stay unbothered.